Hi everyone, thank you for attending. We will start in a couple of minutes. We'll just let a few stragglers come in so they don't miss the starting section. We're gradually filling up. Give it another couple more minutes, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, looks like we've got the majority of people that have registered. So, firstly, happy Wednesday morning, halfway through the week, so you're getting there. Thank you so much for joining us. I know everybody's very busy. We hope this will be a really good use of your time. We certainly think so. It's a cracking tool that we've got, and this is one of the really strong features within that tool of GL Connect. Just a quick rundown of the agenda. We'll both introduce ourselves and the company. I'd give a very brief run through of what the company does and the background, then a bit about GL Connect, which is what the custom hierarchies feature sits in, and then a bit about why it's important and different uses for custom hierarchies. Then I'll hand over to Julian, who will do the glitzy bit, the demonstration of GL Connect and the use of custom hierarchies with a different scenario. And then we'll go out to questions at the end. If you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat. We will aim to probably do them towards the end, if that's okay. If there's anything urgent, then please just feel free to put urgent by the comment, and our adjudicator will keep an eye on that. My name's Simon Beresford. I've worked here at SplashBI for just over 2 years now. Prior to that, I was working in an Oracle MSP, an SI. So my golden thread, as it were, over the last 10 years has very much been Oracle based. My job here at SplashBI is simply to introduce you to our range of solutions that we can tailor and provide for business users within the Oracle sphere, but also we are fairly software agnostic in terms of the other solutions. This one is very much at this stage focused on Oracle. However, we do have plans in the future to expand that. I'll pop you over to Julian for a quick introduction, and then we can go from there.
Thank you, Simon. I'm Julian Sweet. I'm Finance Solutions Manager here at SplashBI. I've been with the company, just over 4 years. It's a fantastic company, and we've got a fantastic product that we're going to show you. At the very end, you can ask lots of nice, difficult questions of me, and I'll try my best to answer them. So, welcome everybody. Simon.
Thanks, Julian. Thank you. We, in terms of the company that's speaking today, we've been around for just over 10 years, 11 years now. Although we have got very much a history and a focus on Oracle, that covers across multiple different pieces of software in terms of the solution we provide. We do not specialize in industries, however. We service across over 60 different industries and almost, I think it's 600 global customers, ranging from the likes of Oxford University and Edinburgh City Council, all the way across to McDonald's and Ford Motor Group. So really eclectic mix and very different in terms of size and their remit. But the core of what we do will enable all of them to provide data-driven decisions to their business users in a timely fashion. In terms of the size of the company, we're over 300. Head office is over in the US. We're speaking out of our UK office today, where we have a UK base, and also we have an office over in India as well. Next slide, please, Julian. So just to give you a very brief overview, we're very much about the one platform, one solution, one user experience. So we are there to provide a solution for multiple different functions, whether it be financial data, people data, legacy data, or sales and marketing data as well, to empower those users to self-service, whether it be reporting or analytics, very much driven towards making sure they're positive business outcomes. What you will find is we take on a lot of feedback from our customers, and magic of all magic, the next release is highly likely to contain some of those different pieces of feedback. So yes, we put a lot of thought into what we do, but we also listen to our customer base as well, which is something I certainly find of value. Ultimately, we're trying to break down the data silos across all different departments across the company. Ultimately, if people should see the data, and we'll talk about that in a second, they should be able to come to the same answer. If one person, if the CEO asks asks a question to the chief finance officer, they will also get the same answer from the chief HR officer as well. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm not going to talk about all of these. It's just, this is purely from a point of view of awareness, but in terms of our solution set, the beauty of what we do is we can combine all of our solutions together, or take little pieces and elements and combine them seamlessly as well. Today we're focusing on GL Connect, which is there on the right. That's our financial reporting in Excel, specifically at this stage for Oracle Cloud Fusion and Oracle eBusiness Suite. There are other areas that we cover, such as the reporting and analytics across the Oracle landscape, both on-premise and on cloud, and also legacy data and analytics as well. Next slide, please, Julian. So focusing on GL Connect, this is our financial statement builder. It gives you real-time drillable access with Oracle eBusiness Suite, and near real-time for Oracle Fusion Cloud. And that data goes straight into Excel. You will be able to, along with the ability to drill down into detail, you can refresh the entire financial package just with a simple click of the button. There's lots of different features you'll see down there in the bottom right, ranging from bursting out your reports by segments and distributing your reports to others as well. That basically means you don't have to be sat at your desk to get people the data that they require. If it is month end, quarter end, year end, we can make sure the appropriate people get the right data without you having to work late nights as well. So in terms of the secure data, we leverage, oh, sorry, could you pop back, Julian?
I was a bit previous, was I?
You're a bit keen. You're getting bored of me rambling.
No, it's a good, interesting stuff.
We leverage the existing eBiz and cloud security. So that's important, as I alluded to earlier, making sure that the right people have access to the right information that they are allowed to have. So we honor the security within the Oracle setup already. Down there, we've just got a pick of a few different companies showing the eclectic nature of our customer portfolio as well. Okay, thanks, Julian. So focusing on hierarchies that will evolve your business as well. And this is really ultimately how you can benefit from custom hierarchies. And we've come up with a few different ones. Maybe you come up with a few more depending on your situation. First one is the trade-off between management and statutory reporting. So the difference between the two, statutory reporting, hopefully not teaching you to suck eggs, but statutory reporting is obviously required by regulators, and it's very strict, rigid standards. Management reporting is more flexible and certainly operational. So This is the reporting that gives leadership insights that they need to run the business on a day-by-day basis. And ultimately, specifically to this, it means slicing the data slightly differently, or potentially using non-standard views as well. So again, customer hierarchies coming into its own. You may have multiple accounting standards. We've listed a few there. This naturally creates complexity, especially when you're using the same financial data that needs to be structured or presented differently, obviously depending on those different ways of reporting, those different frameworks. You can also have regional versus global reporting. So this creates another layer. So local entities, for example, might report to local leadership or governments using one structure. However, ultimately, in the end, they need to report to their global corporate hierarchy. So that all needs to be rolled up into one. So supporting multiple hierarchies will allow companies to serve both sets of needs for global and regional without duplicating work or indeed the data itself. Scenario planning and indeed forecasting. So scenario planning is quite a critical when it comes to forward-looking decision making for people who are looking to forecast what's going to happen in the future. You may need to test different assumptions, changes in revenue, cost structures, whatever it may be, but ultimately without disrupting the official chart of accounts or all the reporting hierarchy. So beauty of custom hierarchies is that they bring the real value for allowing a flexible modeling and also your what if analysis as well. Finally, as I say, this may not be an exhaustive list because we learn a lot from our customers about how they use different features as well. Mergers and acquisitions, in this day and age, there's a huge amount of activity in M&A. When a company is required, it often has its own chart of accounts and reporting structures. In the complexity and mass transition and transformation that's going on, it's nice to have something where you don't have to immediately force a full integration of this. It may be more practical simply to map their existing structure to the corporate standard. So custom hierarchies allows for this dual visibility. So you're preserving one company's reporting needs, the one that's been bought, whilst also meeting the corporate consolidation requirements as well. So you've got those sat dually as well, instead of mucking around or getting involved in a big project, pulling them all together. Okay, next slide, please, Julian. So how does custom hierarchies benefit you? What does it do, and what are the key benefits in terms of GL Connect itself, our financial statement builder? Finance lead the flexibility here. It's driven by the finance leaders because ultimately they're the ones that want the different custom hierarchies and the different information. You are not therefore dependent on IT themselves. So you do not have to wait that time. You don't have to communicate it. You have it instantly at your fingertips. So what does it do? It builds alternate hierarchies within Excel that are tied directly to Oracle General Ledger data. And also you can create flexible reporting structures, which is specifically tailored to real business needs as well, instead of going through a very structured route. I'm not going to run through all of these, but key benefits, certainly aligning reports with any general ledger segment. Julian's going to talk about the support of up to 15 levels. And as I've referred to before, it is very much finance owned. And I cannot emphasize this enough, the refresh balances automatically based on hierarchy. That's a massive thing. The whole automation thing, less time required for manually doing things as well. It's several big business wins there in terms of accuracy as well.
Yeah,
effectively.
absolutely. Yeah. One thing to mention there is that, we didn't start out with 15 levels, but it was a particular requirement from a customer, so we were able to give them what they want. So one of the benefits of GL Connect is that we're able to respond to customers' needs as well. So all in all, it's a great product. I think we got the first poll question that's now coming up for people. So I'll just read out the question. So, how does your finance team handle hierarchies for reporting? So, Pranjal, if you can just pop up the poll question for everybody, and we'll just give that a moment, and then we'll then share the results that we then have. But at the moment, everybody's right. We can see the dials changing as we go there, as people are then, sort of then voting away. So, Pranjal, have you got the results that you can share in the chat with me, or Simon, do you want to read that out? Okay, well, I think we're at about 52% for sort of manual Excel mapping from what I can see. So so there's a lot of manual effort that has to take place currently. So what we're trying to do is to try and to alleviate some of that manual effort, and ultimately make you more efficient in terms of doing things. What we've seen with some clients with using GL Connect is there's one client that reduced their down from 3 weeks down to 7 days in terms of their closing. So, it's a very powerful tool in terms of what they do. So just moving on from the first question that we then got, in terms of use cases, sort of that this is, sort of one financial company, and that they needed to produce things in a couple of different formats that you then have to it. And we talked in terms of the ones that Simon outlined, both the management and also the statutory requirements. So quite often from a day-to-day perspective, that you need to be able to say, report out your costs by cost center, for example. So you may then be looking at a completely different hierarchy to what you then will then send to the tax authority, or to sort of whatever your particular authority in your particular jurisdiction is, for them reporting your company accounts or something like that. So, here's where you then need that flexibility. One particular use case that we had with one client was that they were based out of India, and that they had their own local chart of accounts, and that they were reporting ultimately up to an entity that was in the United Arab Emirates. What they couldn't do is that they themselves didn't have any governance in terms of modifying the hierarchy that was then in the UAE. So what they wanted to be able to do was to then be able to then show that to a local chart of accounts. So they were then able to then do that by then creating their own hierarchies and then having governance of those particular hierarchies as well. And here we see that similar sort of situation for the client that we were then dealing with here. So there's a lot of power in terms of what the tool can then do. And what we see some of the benefits at the bottom there, sort of shortening the reporting cycles, improving your accuracy, and also sort of building stakeholder confidence. And one of my colleagues was talking recently about stakeholders, and it's so important in terms of a project of working with the people who then are then using the tool and gaining that confidence in terms of the stakeholders. So I'll just pop on a little bit. As I said, sort of previously, we started out, I don't know, with about 5 or 6 levels, and here we see like a 6 level hierarchy. So we see the first 6 levels, but we can expand that out to about 15 levels that we then have. And what you have here is that this is the balance sheet accounts, and then the assets, and then breaks down all the particular accounts that you then have. So when you see something like asset, that's not something that exists within your ERP system, that is some classification that you can then put in. And then where you see on the right hand side, you see the various accounts that are then coming down. Those are the actual accounts as they exist within your ERP system. So what it allows you to do is to introduce your own classifications and then say what accounts that then maps to. So we can then create a lot of flexibility in terms of how you then report from that. And you can create any number. And when we get to the demo, we'll then see that we can then create a number of different hierarchies to then see things in a number of different ways. And also you can look at the various segments that you then have. So you, by your account, by your cost center, by your company, sort of whichever account segment you're looking to then subsequently look at. And what we've seen with using GeoConnect, sort of that if we look on average across the various customers that we've got, we've seen up to a 40% saving in terms of the month, quarter, and also year-end closing. The one extreme case that I gave already was that somebody who reduced it from 3 weeks down to 7 days. And we've got a number of use cases that, if you get on call with us, we can then share with you in terms of the benefits that then people will then see. But on average, that we're looking at about 40% sort of saving. That what we provided with GeoConnect is a simple means within Excel of being able to build financial statements. And one of the things that people really respond to is the ability to be able to drill down, because what they want to be able to do is, say they get a variance between your actuals and budget, they then want to then be able to drill into those and then see the subledger details. So say you get an unusual expense, I don't know, council tax or something like that, you don't recognize, and you then want to then see what the actual transaction behind that, and then see the supporting transaction references that you get for that. So, who the customer was, or if it's revenue based, or who the supplier was. If you want to drill down to a project or a purchase order or something like that, that you then get those references as well. And also, we provide the facility to be able to modify those drill down templates. So say as standard that we will show, your debits, your credits, what the transaction reference was, but also we then show those things like the supplier. If there's something you then need to add a field, you can also then do that, which gives you a lot of flexibility. And the important thing is it's the end user who can do that, the person who's actually using the product, so they don't have to go back to IT just because they want one column then adding in. And also that they can then refresh that all from within Excel. So something that finance are familiar with. I once heard of Excel being described as the world's biggest ERP system. You have other people that say, well, that's not true. And it's like, yeah, well, you don't understand. What it is a very powerful tool where a lot of people work in that. And what they do is they use it to then take their figures and consolidate them. And what we're trying to do with GeoConnect is then make that simpler in terms of then being able to then work complementary with Excel. To bridge that gap between your ERP system and then within Excel. And what we can then do as well, that sort of is, we then see what the updated balance is that you've then have, sort of directly, from within your ERP system. Once you've done all that, you may have a fantastic financial report or something like that, and we'll show during the demo that we can also then, if we then want to then send that out to people. So say you use your custom hierarchy and you've got your two different reports to your two different hierarchies, you may want to then send that out to people. So we can also then do that as well. And you can schedule it, which gives you a lot of automation in terms, and we can show how easily we can do that in the demonstration as well. Just pop up the second poll question that we then got. So here we go. So what's your biggest challenge when preparing financial reports today? And if you could just sort of start clicking away, I'm seeing people starting to respond to that. So, oh, that's interesting already. We'll just give that a few moments to whiz through. A number of votes are coming in. Well, that's very interesting. I've not seen that everybody's saying a lack of flexibility. So yes, what we do hope is to provide that flexibility with GeoConnect, that sort of so that you can then interact with it. And very soon we'll be getting on to the demo. So I'll just hop past that. And straight there, we're there and on to the demo. Simon, before we move on to the demo, have you got any last words or things that you'd like to say?
No, I think I think we've shown that there are some other features, and if it's okay, just run through one or two of the extra ones. But obviously, we'll stick with the custom hierarchies, and hopefully you can see the benefit. As I say, please do ask questions in the chat, and we will answer them towards the end. Indeed, if any is urgent, then we'd be happy to see them off at the time.
Okay, that's excellent. So I'm just going to bring it across to you. Just make that bigger. So let's just make that as big as we can. There we go. You seeing that okay, Simon?
Yep.
Right, okay, lovely. But I've just benefited from the new fantastic second screen over here. So I'm just making sure that you're seeing it at its best. And what we can see here is just that I've logged in already to GeoConnect. And one of the things that we do is just that, you know, here we're using this is connecting to eBusiness Suite that you then see initially, but also we can also connect to Oracle Fusion. And in the future, we'll have other sources that we'll be announcing in the near future that we can then also connect to. We've got a very flexible underlying data model so that we can then connect to different systems as well. But what is at the heart of it is the ability to use the roles and responsibilities that you have, say, even within EBS, or the roles that you have within Fusion. So we always use that underlying security that you then have. But now I skipped past the login, but I like mentioning this. Now it may seem very trivial, but you know what you have here is you can actually log into a number of different systems, and you can log in very easily. So I'll just show that very quickly, just because some other tools that you use, it's not so easy to then switch between instances and things like that. So you know this makes it very user friendly in terms of, and also the setup. You just need a URL. You know that's it. Over here, you'll then see where I then talked about the, you know, the ability to be able to then switch between different sources that you then see. So here you can see at the moment we then support the e-business and also the Oracle Cloud that you then have. And on this particular thing, what we're trying to show now, we talked about some of the use cases for hierarchies, but here we've got something else. So here, imagine you've got a migration and previously you were on Oracle e-business suite and you're moving to Fusion. Now, typically these things take place, say September, for argument's sake, that you don't want to do it at the end of a financial year or something like that. There's too much going on. So typically they happen at some point during the middle of the year. But what that means is then you'll then have, you know, 9 months of data that's coming out of your old legacy system, say Oracle e-business suite in this instance, and you'll then have 2 or 3 months that you'll then have that will then be on Fusion. And you may then want to be able to then report off of both of those. So this is just a simple example, just showing a very simple hierarchy. This is our 15 hierarchy that we then had previously. And what I can do is that, you know, I can then report off a couple of different hierarchies. So here we have it. So we would see what it would look like if it was in Oracle e-business, and then using the accounts that we then have in Oracle e-business suite. And also we can then map those to what are then called the cloud equivalent things. So if we want to see the cloud values, we can then see those accounts to that. So that's, you know, the one side of it. So, you know, I could do that, but also I may want to refresh the figures that I've got from the Oracle Cloud. So what I can do is I can switch the Oracle Cloud. So just give that a moment just to switch everything over. And here you'll see as well, we can create lists of values for your hierarchy. So if you've got a number of different hierarchies, and you can pick which hierarchy you want to report to. So here, you know, I can then refresh those cloud figures that we then have as well. So that we can see now the idea, because the e-business that they turned it off about 10 years ago. That's why there's a 10-year gap or something. But you know, when you're operating in your business, what you'll have is you'll turn it off. You know, say September next year, say September 26, you'll have some figures. that will be from e-business, and then you'll then switch over, and then October until the end of 26 will then be on Fusion. And here you can then get a comparison between two different systems that you then have is the idea. Now, how do we actually then create those hierarchies is then the question. So what we have is here, you'll see that we then have the possibility to create hierarchies. Now I just need to switch back actually to eBusiness Suite because this particular hierarchies I've created actually in eBusiness Suite. But there you can see we can create them in Fusion as well. And here you'll see a slightly different menu. So here you can see that I can create several custom hierarchies, and these are some of the ones that I then have from previous. And the one that I've got, what I'm doing, let's just go and edit this. So this is just very simple. This is the one-to-one mapping. So what you have in the first column, the level 1, is then what the value is as it would be in the cloud. And then in the, just expand this column a bit so you can see the level 2. Oh, I think it's in column D. There we go. So here you can see in column D that you then have the value as it was in Oracle e-Business Suite. And then against that, so this is the classification that I've given, the description that you would then see that's then associated with the value that you've got here. So this value doesn't actually exist in Oracle e-Business Suite, but it allows me to go and query a balance based upon a value that doesn't exist, because what I'm doing is I'm then creating a mapping to what the value actually is. And in reality, when you're using these, you may have off your old system, several values. So we've got a client at the moment that's just about to use this, and what they've got is on their old system that they've got an old chart of accounts and they've got a new chart of account. So they'll need to be able to do a mapping. So they may have old value, sort of old value or a couple of old values that then map to a new value that you then have in your new chart of accounts. So they'll use something like this in order to be able to then do that mapping that they've got. So that's another use case as well, that where you're going through a re-implementation, where you're coming up with a new chart of accounts. So add 2 more to the slide that we had from previous. So that just shows you, so we take this, you can go in and say, I want to create a new one or something like that. I can just go in here. This will give you a form that you can then go on. You then need to give it a name for your particular hierarchy. And then hopefully if I double click on here, you'll see that this will then pop up the various charts of accounts that we then have. So you can then enter the charts of accounts that you then have. And once you've entered your charts of accounts, you would then put in whether it was the account or company or something like that, the segment that you're then creating your hierarchy. And then you then also then see you can then put in your full 15 levels that you then have. So let's just come back to the actual output that we then had. So we've seen that we can go in, we can create some new hierarchies, that we can have those both on EBS and we can have those on Fusion as well. And also we can select those different hierarchies and we can refresh our numbers from both systems as well. So the next thing would be that, imagine I then have some financial report that I then want to be able to then send out to people so I've created this as a report or something. Now here I'm going to use a different example or some other, just to show you some other styles of reports that we can then also have. So if we just come across here, and here, for example, I'm just going to show that we could have, for example, an income statement, and we're then just showing us like a rolling income statement over 12 months that you then have. And I'm just going to refresh this. Now this one's actually on the cloud, so I just need to swap to the cloud a moment. And I can then just refresh this as well. So let's just refresh this just to show that this will then refresh. And then we can then see those figures. Now, one of the other things, before we get on to how we then distribute it, you may want to do some analysis on this. You may want to drill in these things. So any of these things are drillable. Now, either I can double click on them or also I can then drill on them. So here, hopefully this then works. Let's go to subload your details. And what you'll then see is you'll then see data that will come from a number of different places. So there's quite a bit of revenue here, and you'll then see the split and the breakdown of the revenue that we've got that's then underneath that. But I think we just got a bit of a delay from the internet, so I'm just going to pause that a moment. But I've got an example of the output that we then have. So this shows the sort of thing that you then have. And, you know, sort of, if I just collapse this, we create some totals over here. And this shows us the type of thing that you can do. So what you would do is you would drill down, and then also you can then check that everything adds up in terms of your sub ledgers, and there's no mismatch that you then get from the balance sheet you then have then drilled from. But we can go back and we can do that drill down a bit later. But there's so many things I want to show you that are so fantastic about the product. So here, if we take a look at this now, what I want to be able to do is here, I've got a company now. If we just have a look at the various companies that we then have, let me just expand this. So here you see that we can use lists of values as well, and we can also incorporate those lists of values into your spreadsheet as well. And under the North America parent company, so this uses your various hierarchies in there. And the other thing to mention is that the custom hierarchies will also appear in here as well. So, you know, I haven't got one for company on here, but we can show you in terms of the other hierarchies that we've got. But here you'll see under company 100, we then have a number of different companies that we've got. So what I want to be able to do is to take this particular report, and I then want to then see all of those, but I don't want to type in 101, 102, etc. So we've one chain in you know, sort of in America, because they've got about 5,000 stores, so they don't want to sort of run things over and over again, and also they don't want to create 5,000 tabs within Excel. So what we have for them is this thing. Well, there's two things that they use that you know, initially, you know, internally, that they use this so they see all things just on one sheet, but also they can then use the burst and distribute. So if they can just send out those reports to each of those 5,000 stores that they then have. So we'll just show this as well. So here, you know, if I take the company, so it's always a parent that I need to be able to then do things on. And, you know, sort of then I then say that I want to then show one level. So the next company down that we then have. And we can then just click on the burst on this. And there what you then see is at the top one we have the parent, which is the company 100. And underneath that, you'll then see 101. You'll see each of the companies. And as I say, you know, sort of this one client, they've got about 5,000 locations that then come vertically that we then have. So we just scroll down and you can then see that. So there's only some numbers for some of those things. You see, for example, here, company 120, we then have number, you know, 73 million, whereas obviously that's 96 million, you know, then at the corporate header sort of level that we then have, and then break down all the sales and all the income that you then got. But I may want to then send that out. So I'm just going to quickly do that and then I'll stop talking. So if we just come back to our company income statement that we've got, so if we just come and we use the person distribute, and I just created a template from before. So all this does is just fills in this particular field. It looks like I probably need to actually create a new template actually. Yeah, I'll create a new template just to show you this, because I'm just skipping over a step. So I'm just going to put in the date here. So just to show that things actually work live rather than I'm not just making this up. So here I then pick company, and here again you can use the hierarchies. So you know this, you know, if your custom hierarchy was in there, you could also have your custom hierarchy, so you can then distribute out to your custom hierarchy, which is another fantastic thing that we then have. I just need to put the cell reference in here, which is C4, which is the field that you then have. And I then want to go down one level that we then have, so that I should then send out those companies. And we can then choose create. I'm just going to pick that one. It's that one there. And then you can then see that that's then just created that template. Now the next bit is a bit more obvious. So this think of it like a distribution list that you then have. So within, you know, company 101, I then send it to the head, who the head of company 101 is, the CFO or something like that. You know, then pick this. I can probably use a previous one. No, we don't use that one. Let's use this one. No, I'm going to create a new one. See, we do this so often. I've got so many of these things in here, so I'm just going to go and create a fresh one in here. So let's just create one of these, and we can then show you how we can then create a distribution list. So I'm just putting my initials in and 0110, just so as I can find it. So we choose, again, we choose that it's going to be company that we're going to send it out to. And then you'll see that this then changes dynamically so that you then have the list of the companies that you then want to then send this to. And what we can do is just pick a couple of these. So pick that one, and I'm going to put it. And here you get to see my email. So if you've got any questions or you want to contact me about the products, please feel free. So I'm just going to do that one. And here I can just type this in 102. And we can then just pop that in there. So as I say, this is like a distribution list. So this will be all your CFOs or something like that that you want to then send out your income statement or something to. And we can then just choose create, and that template's then created. And that one's there at the bottom, and then you can then use. In reality, this would all be a one-time operation. So you create your templates, and then you would then schedule things, and then you would then send this out. So we then go next. I then have the option of then scheduling things, which is a very powerful and interactive thing that you then have in here. And we have, for example, the advanced schedule. So I can then be very selective in terms of what I do. So what are we now? We just turned into October. Let's say I want next month, November, that I then want to then run it, say November, December, and subsequent months on. I can then pick the particular months that we then have. So I then have, so December, and then I then may want to align it with your financial calendar or something. So, if you know that you've got the closing on the second of the month or something, like you can do the second Tuesday or something. So it's then very flexible in terms of when you then schedule this as well. But in this case, I just want to choose no, so I can actually then run this for you. And this will actually run a distribution. So what it's doing now is it's actually uploading a report to our server. And one of the great things about that is it takes a load off your laptop. So instead of hogging your laptop, this is sat there. So I could go off and do other things. I'm not sitting around waiting for this report to then run. But I'll just refresh this a second and hope. Oh, it looks like we had a little technical problem. We had to get one, didn't we? But what this will do is it will then send that out, and that distribution will then normally be sent out to the recipients of that. Right, just going to close that one there. So I think that just about concludes what I wanted to show for you today. I'll just do a little recap in terms of what we've seen here. So here we've seen that we can create hierarchies. We can create different hierarchies that using different charts of account segments, that we can create a number of different hierarchies. It's very quick and easy in order to then create those particular hierarchies, and those are fully integrated then into the product. And we can also then use those when we're then creating a report, and we then wanting to then send that report out as well. So I think at that point, Simon, I'll hand that back to you, and then we'll then look to take some questions, and thank you, Simon.
Great. Thanks, Julian. Do you mind just flipping over to the presentation? So we've got our
Yeah.
contact details, excuse me, on this on the final slide. If you would like to hear any more, if indeed you'd like to have a full GL Connect demo, or indeed for any of our other solutions combined, we'd be very happy to do so. We have very much concentrated on custom hierarchies with a couple of other different features in there. But there's a lot more to be had from this. I think we'll open it up to the audience. I don't know if we've had any questions as yet. I know we did have some people that have pre-registered but could not make the webinar, and I think they put some questions in for us.
Yeah, I think I could see one here. Let me just read this out. We have a requirement for multiple reporting only hierarchies and currently use Oracle DRM. I'm not sure I know DRM. I'll have to look that one up, to manage reporting only hierarchies. It can prove to be a governance nightmare, having someone to own each hierarchy and go through the master data update process. Ideally, we would want each area have the ability to customize their own structures, of course, within set guide rails, I think that is. Um, would the product support this? Yeah, certainly. So each individual will be able to create their, or individual department will be able to create their own hierarchies. And also on each check, I think there's then the facilities to then be able to then share those with people. But yes, that whilst there is governance, sort of in terms of what you can do in GeoConnect, it does give you a lot more flexibility, that you can, sort of edit and modify those more easily, and also it's all within Excel. Let's just see if there's any other questions that we've got. Let's come back. So also, I think we've got one. Is GeoConnect an Excel only plugin, or does it offer a front-end interface for users to model their hierarchies and use on their reports? Yes, it's all within Excel currently, but we have, we are exploring the possibility of some dashboards relating to it, but at the moment, yes, it is an Excel plugin. But let's have a look what else we've got. So, in terms of some of the questions that people have submitted prior to the webinar, that, sort of one user's asked, can we have multiple hierarchies? And yes, as we've seen in the demonstration, that we have multiple hierarchies. And also we've seen that they're then easy to change, which was another question which was then posed. One of the things that we commonly get asked, and in preparation for this, we were asked by, sort of very key client, can we perform consolidations? And again, yes, so imagine like the scenario that we had there, where we've got two different companies, two different entities, and they then roll up to 101 and 102, and then roll up to company 100, that you can then create some sort of hierarchy that then reflects your particular structure that you then have, or say you're looking at cost centers or something like that, and you want something that goes outside of what you then have in your ERP or DRM. I'll have to look that one up, but you can then certainly do that as well. Can hierarchies be used for both financial reporting, management reporting? Yes. So so firstly, we will inherit the hierarchies that you then have, and we saw that in terms of the list of values that you have, those hierarchies that you've got, but also then custom hierarchies, then extension to that. So you can then create your own management hierarchies, so you can then report to your custom center structure that you then have as well. I think that just about concludes the questions that we had, Simon. So I'll just hand it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Julian. If there are any more questions that you think of after the session, please just feel free to email us. As you can see, just scan the QR code on there. We'd love to help. Anything in terms of reporting or data analytics, dashboards, etc., just let us know. Please don't be a stranger. More than happy to help. We're very friendly here. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I believe we'll be sending out a link to the recording, so you will be able to forward it on to colleagues who weren't able to make it as well. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.